Welcome back to Kings Film Room, and today we're going to take a look at the Summer League performance of two-way guard Keon Ellis out of Alabama. Keon quickly stole the hearts of Kings fans with his energy and activity on the defensive end, but he also made plenty of strides offensively as well, so sit back and enjoy as we watch the tape. Keon is a pest defensively with his elite lateral quickness. Watch how he just bounces around but keeps his hands up and active. He utilizes a good mix of slides and sprints and flips his hips with no problem. This style of bouncy and energetic lateral movement has become a signature trait for Keon. A lot of what he does is unorthodox, but he's been able to make it work at a high level. Here, when he transitions into a sprint, the ball handler crosses over near the elbow. Instead of flipping his hips to change direction, he merely turns in correspondence with the offensive player, briefly turning his back to the ball. This isn't the most natural way to go about changing direction, but watch how Keon keeps his hand on RJ Hampton's hip when he turns. This way, he never loses track of the ball even with his back turned. This time Keon is a bit over-aggressive with his closeout and loses his footing for an instant. And again, the way he's able to recover is the same back-turned spinning motion. He quickly gets back in the play and cuts his man off before he even reaches the elbow. But Keon doesn't purely rely on this style of movement. Here you have another closeout near the top of the key, and the offensive player attacks Keon's front foot. This time he plants and lunges himself towards the change of direction to get a good contest. You see in a lot of these clips that when Keon goes into a sprint speed for recovery, he's still beating the offensive players to the spot. And that's the case again here. Keon beats Andrew Nimhard to the nail and then absorbs the push off to the chest. Keon isn't thrown off stride by the contact, he flips his hips to realign himself, then quickly springs off his back foot to help alter the shot. Keon also has some really deceptive strength. With his stature, you wouldn't expect him to be able to handle bumps and contact nearly as well as he does. Again, his front foot is attacked on the closeout, but he quickly recovers and cuts off the drive, and this is the moment that the contact occurs. The offensive player leans into Keon, who takes the contact and completely rips the ball away at the same time. One thing Keon did throughout Summer League was put on a clinic of disrupting and harassing ball handlers. The non-stop motor he plays with is bothersome to everybody and will consistently apply pressure up the court or at least extended half court. Both his hands and feet are active in sync. He's truly a pest defensively that no ball handler wants to deal with. But when you play this style of aggressive defense, there are no doubt times where you'll get beat. Watch how wide Keon opens up his hips here, nearly parallel with the sideline. That gives the offensive player a great angle to drive, and he takes advantage of it. On this specific play, we get another look at Keon's sprint speed, where he's able to recover and eventually cut his man off. Of course, quicker guards won't allow this recovery to happen in the first place. Defense is all about anticipation, and sometimes you guess wrong. And even if you're just a half step slow in reacting, that's probably already too late at the NBA level. Keon's narrow frame is actually an asset for him when it comes to screen navigation. It's easy for him to get skinny, fitting through narrow windows in between the screener and the ball handler. By not giving the offensive player any space coming off screens, he helps limit any advantage picks are designed to generate. The technique is perfect, as you can see in this clip. Uses his right hand to ride the ball handler's hip and his left in order to locate and propel himself off the screener. Even when he gets chipped here, the space created is marginal and Keon quickly fights back into play. You'll see this constantly, using that off arm to his advantage. He uses it to throw himself forward off the screener, helping in his recovery to cut players off. This is a pin down his man curls off of, and here he avoids any contact with the screener altogether, but he still stays attached to the offensive player's hip and this time uses his off arm to disrupt the pass to the roller. This shows us some of the instincts and quick reaction time he has. Here Keon is again harassing the ball handler, and because this is such a high ball screen, there is no reason to go over, so Keon goes under and quickly stops the drive. Then he makes a ridiculous play on the ball. Not only does this show elite anticipation and reaction time, how about the concentration and hands to catch the ball midair in such close proximity? I love when Keon is able to anticipate these passes out of the pick and roll. Like here, this turns into a late switch and Keon recognizes the offensive player picks up the ball with his back turned, so he's able to telegraph this pass to the big that pops, taking it the other way. This ability to read and jump passing lanes was a beautiful sight to watch. He scans the floor like a free safety, reading the ball handler's eyes and looking to make breaks on the ball. But even in doing so, he doesn't take a lot of bad gambles. He's disciplined in his decision making, which is rare for someone with this kind of playstyle. Keon already looks like an incredible team defender in just about every aspect. From the big play ability and creating turnovers to just making the simple and smart rotations, Keon was always engaged and making the right plays. Like here, when Paulo drives, Keon sinks in on the cutter, yet still anticipates and recovers back to his man in the corner. And I love this play as well. Here the Kings have a miscommunication in the pick and roll, which leaves the big who popped open on the perimeter. Keon recognizes this and helps over from the weak side to allow the defense time to recover. Overall, Keon is just an ultra engaged help defender. He knows when to tag, sink in on bigs, make digs when one pass away, and is elite at getting a hand on the ball. And combined with all of this, the closing speed on his closeouts give him the ability to recover easier from further distances. Offensively, when Keon was reduced to a perimeter spot-up role was when he was most effective. In Vegas, he shot a hyper-efficient 54% from 3 on 6 attempts per game. Keon always has great balance on his shot and showcase some good off-ball movement to go along with it. Take this play where after the pass, Keon drifts to the corner. He catches, gets squared up, dips, and the jumper is smooth. If Keon's mechanics look a little awkward to you, that comes from the base. I touched on this in my previous video on him, but there's a point in his motion where his knees bend inward, nearly touching at the center. But I also wouldn't expect his form to change anytime soon, so I would just get used to it. As great as Keon shot the ball from 3, anything inside the line was typically a wild ride. He lacks a great touch around the basket and doesn't have the best control of his speeds. To add to that, he's not explosive enough, nor has any advanced moves off the dribble to be able to create for himself. On this play, for example, he goes to a hop step, but look where he's picking up the ball, above the free throw line. He forces up a tough floater here, which is a shot he just doesn't have nearly enough touch on to take in traffic. Sometimes he's missing good looks at the rim, other times he's just not slowing down. He needs to do a better job of staying under control, utilizing jump stops, and knowing when to kick it out. It's only summer league though, so I do like that he was working on his driving, but the ability is extremely raw. And we still saw some good, like here. We have a straight line drive to attack a closeout from the side, and Keon goes into the body of the defender in the paint, taking the contact and finishing over him with a runner. There were also some positives when it came to cutting. Keon was a timely cutter and made smart flashes in the paint. More than just a timely cutter, he was great at getting behind the defense and making himself available. Here Keon is in the corner about to come off a pin down for the Kings zoom action. But with the defender overplaying, Keon rejects a screen, backdoors, creates a miscommunication and gets an easy bucket out of it. One thing the Kings tried experimenting with in Summer League was utilizing Keon as a playmaker out of the pick and roll. If you watched him at Alabama, you would know this is not something he's extremely comfortable with, but he actually did show some promising flashes in his decision making, getting better and better making his reads with each game. Here's that same zoom action from before, but this time Keon uses the screens. He curls off the handoff from Keita to get downhill, creating a 2-on-1 advantage and a pick and roll situation. He's quick to recognize the numbers game and lobs his pass over the top to where only Keita can get it. This is a similar scenario, another pick and roll with Keita, and Keon's man is behind him, so this should be another 2-on-1. Only difference is now there's a helping defender tagging the roller, which takes this pass away. So Keon waits and draws the tagger deeper into the paint while making the right read and hitting Jared Roden, who is lifting on the weak side. But he still has a lot of room to grow here, as he's not super comfortable quite yet. This play, for example, is a predetermined read. Keon comes off staggers, which sets up a pick and pop when he curls off the second screen. He takes one dribble downhill and throws a no-look pass to where the big who popped would be. Only problem is, since Keon never looked back, he didn't realize this turned into a late switch and an easy steal for the defense. Anyways, that will just about do it for this breakdown, and as always, thank you guys for sticking around and helping support the channel. I recently asked for suggestions on what you'd like to see me post during this dead period of basketball we're in, so please continue giving me ideas and I'll try and get some stuff out. Once again, thank you all and see you next time.